Good. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is another edition of our weekly real estate backstory. We do this every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. We try and go over the comings and goings, all the things happening in the real estate world, try and keep you up to speed. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum One Realtor and Realtor Partners.
My name is Maine Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And so we are jumping into Valentine's week. And with Valentine's, yeah. Love you. But one of the things that kind of, it has an association here are the buyer love letters. And we have to be very careful. We want to urge caution with the love letters. I know there's some agents that really love to do them. I'm using the word love a lot, but we have to be very careful because it's so easy with buyer love letters to violate fair housing. And we have to be really, really careful of that because you can put your buyer at risk. You can also put your seller at risk out there. The challenge for buyer love letters is it's so hard to write a buyer love letter without violating fair housing because a lot of times we want to describe people and not property.
Correct.
And so like if you say, oh, my family would love this, or my children, or my spouse, or, those kind of things, you just violate fair housing. And so we have to be very careful that we don't put any of our clients at risk. And even have a conversation for listing agents, have a conversation with your sellers and say, basically you want to make sure that you have permission not to present love letters. Yeah, because it's one of those kind of weird areas. Like we present all offers, and a lot of times the love letters are attached to offers. So we have to have we need to have instructions from our clients on to whether or not we would actually be willing, or they would be willing to not. But we need to be honest about it.
Just get them out of the issue of fair housing.
Yep. Now. There's some new things that have come up here lately. There's a new study out, and it shows that there's a pretty big disconnect between what some of our clients think, and even what some of our agents are thinking and that kind of stuff. And so we just want to share some of them because some of them are pretty like big numbers and impressive things. About 8 out of 10 Americans say home buying is a major priority for them. And so, we know that home ownership is super important in the United States here. And last year, 3 in 10 of, as far as like potential home buyers, 3 out of 10 were 30%. Successful. That means 70% of the people that wanted to buy a house last year were not successful. So it shows that there really is a huge pent up demand out there. That being said,
a lot of buyers may have unrealistic home price expectations.
Right.
So a lot of them, I'm sure you're getting calls from folks saying it's a market falling. It's a market falling. Wow. So 1 in 9, 11% American plans on buying a home in the next 12 months. And those prospective buyers hope to spend around about $269,000.
Yeah, right, $270
on average. And this is much significantly lower than what a typical home price as of October 2022. Because right now, as of that date, the average home price is $379,000. So we're looking at about $110,000
grand difference between, hey, we want to buy this home. We want to buy the average home for $250. Well, the average home price is $350.
Non-existent.
And so
not that price point now.
One other thing that we're seeing heavily out there, and we still see this, and it's really up to us in the real estate world to kind of counter this, is that 2/3, 67% of the folks polled said that the housing market is going to be crash, and that crash is coming, and that's just not really coming.
Well, that's a huge projection. And just because they think it is doesn't mean it will be. Mm-hmm. Just because there's just not enough inventory. We've been running short inventory for the last few years.
Right.
And unless the economy crashes, the labor force crash, the housing market is going to stay steady.
Yep. So, we want to share a few of these with you here now. And so the first one is, regardless of whether or not you plan to purchase a home, do you feel better or worse? And overall, Americans are feeling pretty pessimistic right now. And so, we kind of got to understand that going into it, that we need to be very understanding of, hey, I'm not sure it's the right time. I don't know if we should do this, and so people are kind of pessimistic, but homeownership is really important to them at the same time. So we need to make sure that we're helping them work through that, because as far as, is it better, is it worse? Overall, Americans are generally kind of pessimistic about the entire thing.
And the thing, you guys, is you got to overcome the combat and the fact that we'll just wait another year and see the market crash and rent. While they're doing that, the home value are increasing by 3 to 4%.
You can buy this house next year for more money.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
So, and I know what we always said, marry the house and date the rate.
Yeah. Now, which of the following are preventing you from pursuing home ownership? And the biggest one is down payment. Now, not enough income is one, credit scores are one, the overall economy out there. Mortgage rates is actually farther down the list than I really expected it. I expected mortgage rates to be more important when it came through. But
the top three at least, but it's not. So, a lot has to do, I know a lot of lenders are getting really creative about gift funds as well as rebate from the agent if you're buying for your daughter or your family members. So those are a good thing to have. So just FYI, just explore the option with your lender.
And so what are you planning on doing in order to make home buying more affordable? A lot of folks are trying to save up more money for a bigger down payment. Moving to a more affordable area, we're already seeing where that's happened. There's already been a big shift where people will move to where the homes that they can afford are. Like if you look at the most recent data, it shows that this year, or especially in 2022, okay, we moved farther than we've ever moved in the US before.
Well, the telecommute working allow that happen as well, where you're working from home 3 days a week and you're only commuting 2 days a week. So for them, they're okay traveling 2 days.
Almost 40% of buyers say that they're waiting on mortgage rates to drop some more, and they are moving in the direction. We had they kind of leveled off last week, but I'll kind of explain that in a minute. We have some folks who are considering a longer than a 30-year mortgage. Now, there are some 40-year mortgages out there, but those are non-QM products out there. But the fact that we're talking about 40-year mortgages, and that's something that we've never really spoken about that much, it just shows how interested people are. And really, it does come down to payment, not price. Because if I can get a 40-year mortgage, it's 10 more years, but it's only this much a month.
Correct.
That for some folks now, there aren't a lot of lenders that do 40-year mortgages. I'm not trying to point that, because it's not a qualifying they're not going to sell that on the secondary market.
Human product.
Well, but speaking of mortgages kind of thing, so interest rates kind of leveled off last week, and we really kind of felt that they should kind of come down, because the Feds were not kind of just going crazy at it, and they didn't really come up much. They went from like 3 or 6.03 or something like that. So they came up a little bit, but why they can't? But well, let me show you. There's some other mortgage stats that's kind of going on right now. So mortgages and that whole mortgage industry is really kind of, I'm not going to say it's in turmoil, but there's definitely so much going on. Things are moving really fast in the mortgage world right now. So almost 60% of borrowers use rate buy downs. And so if you are not familiar with 2-1 buy downs and 3-2-1 buy downs and just rate buy downs in general,
buy down. So if your buyer do have a little more money to put down, you might want to look at permanent buy down. I mean, that's just a choice.
Talk to your lender. If you don't understand how buy downs work, and 60% of our borrowers are using buy downs, you are the one.
You're missing
you're missing out right there. Overall, borrowers, bought down at least 1.25 points. That's kind of the average of what they bought down. But now also there's a lot more activity going on with mortgages. So for those agents who really work with buyers, 64% or the number of mortgage or pre-approval rate locks that came in is up 64% in January. So that number is astronomically huge. So we're seeing a lot more people are coming to the realization that these rates are going to be right here. They're going to be moving a little bit lower as we go through the year. Part of the reason why the rates didn't go down last week was that jobs came in really strong. At least on the surface, it did. It showed that we added 517,000 jobs. It was supposed to be around 300
in January.
And then and so anytime that like jobs and the bond market don't work really good together. I know it sounds a lot of weird, but you know, a lot of weird. I mean, a whole lot of weird. So here's the problem for the bonds market is that when you have a really strong jobs market, that means that employment rates are going to be going up, and that means that yields are going to be going down, and so they don't really work real well together, and because they feel that that's going to cause inflation to go up. Now, depending on how you look at this, the good news or the bad news, CoStar went out and they said, listen, they broke down the employment numbers and said, you know, it wasn't across the board. There was a few segments that really kind of crushed it out of the water when it came to the what really is moving things. I am having the hardest time talking today,
as you can see in the chart.
Yeah, and then right now there's fewer job openings, and that's suggesting that job growth is going to decelerate a little bit. And so, not that I think I want unemployment to rise. I don't think anyone wants to see that kind of thing happen. But that being said, I do want to see inflation come down. And as inflation eases, we're going to see our interest rates moving down. We're really looking at being around 5.5 by the end of the summer. And that would be great news for us right there. Because overall, at the same time, guess what's happened to consumer sentiment finally? Even though we showed earlier that Americans are kind of pessimistic, I mean, like for the first time in in a year, we're starting to edge up on consumer sentiment, where people are feeling much more positive.
But if you look at, we've been in decline since about January 2021.
Yeah.
And now that we're actually even though it's not as high as prior to pre-pandemic, but it is steady.
Well, at least we're moving in the right direction. We're still not going down there.
Yep.
So CoreLogic came out and they shared the most recent numbers where they were predicting that property value increases would rise at about 3%, more than double that at 6.9. Now, these are national numbers. Atlanta, we're still in double digits. Up there, we were right in that 10 to 11% range. And so it's still a little bit too high. But overall, you can see that like the areas that are in red are doing better. The areas in blue, not so much. And you can kind of see that here in the South, we're in pretty good shape. And Georgia in particular is looking really, really good. If you look at some of the numbers right now, median sale price is running about 1% up still, and that's on the national. And these are national numbers.
These are national data.
Now, what's interesting though is that the asking price is 1.7% up. And the reason I say it's interesting is we've been tracking these numbers for years now, and there's about a 3% spread normally. And right now there's a 0.6% spread,
which means our projections are better.
Well, our sellers are being more realistic about pricing is really what we're saying. We're seeing where we still have a lot of price reductions, but people are coming onto the market and being more realistic about price.
Correct.
Part of that is also we're going, ever since January 1 started, the volume that we've seen at the brokerage is really, really kind of blowing up over there. So pending sales, however, are still down 20%. Now that sounds, and it is bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't like pending sales at being 20% under, but you have to remember a couple of things. One, last year at this time, mortgage rates were still in the threes. The other thing is that at 20% down, that's still a huge improvement from where we were. We were in the 30s. And so that is a very positive trend overall. And we're going to see that number really start shifting up here really soon, because we're about to go up against where the interest rates started going up, and we're going to be moving down.
Right.
New listings of homes are still down 17%. We're still having a lot of issues with having enough inventory.
Well, and what I'm seeing right now, builders are now building the condos and townhomes and stuff like that. So I'm projecting those will probably come online around March, right at the buying season. And therefore, there's probably going to be more inventory online by then.
I know we're seeing a ton of townhomes. I think there's about 900 under construction or proposed right now, just in Henry County, for example, that kind of thing. Overall, active listings are up. We're up over where we were in 2021, but we're not up over 2020, that kind of stuff. We're still not back to a normal market by any means, and especially not here in Georgia. Months of supply available. this is a national number, and that doesn't represent us nearly as well.
Georgia.
There, I mean, over nationally,
Nationally.
thank you, is about 4%. We're still in the twos. We're still in the high twos.
And what makes it an even market?
6 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. So 42% of pending sales are in a contract with 2 weeks. So, you know, properties are still moving quickly. It's still got to be right and ready to go right then. And then, you know, 1 out of 5 are still selling above list price. So good homes are still going and still going.
Well, that's because the seller are being more realistic on listing your property. They know if they list it too high, there's no traffic. If it just lists slightly below the fair market value, guess what? They're going to have more.
I like to be right at it personally, but
yeah.
5.4% of properties had price reductions. That is that's still really high, but it's moving in the right direction. We're starting to see that number kind of level off, and we should see that start to level off anymore. But overall, we're very optimistic and very, you know, gung-ho about what we're seeing. I wanted to kind of share with you something from List Hub. You know, as the brokerage, you know, this is the data that we're seeing happen on our listings. And so you can see that, you know, we had 67 listings go out, and in December we had around 4,700 total views on those listings through List Hub, and we almost doubled that in January. And so, you know, we saw the level of activity just really kind of shoot through the roof come January 1. And so we're seeing that move or continue into February.
Concentrate on Christmas, like every season. You know, that's the family time, stuff like that. And that sometimes also influence whether or not a buyer is going to move and relocate. So,
you know, we talked about price reductions, but why aren't listings selling? And so there was a new study out, and they said, you know, like, why are the listings? They went and analyzed it. So guess what? Number one is
price.
Bingo. That's price. Money. Yep. Money talks. Something else walks. And so, you know, it really does come down, you know, you need to be at the right price in the very beginning when you put the property on the market. You got 2 weeks to get a full price offer.
And I am still seeing some for sale by owners. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why they're not selling.
Yeah. The second biggest reason is that they're not in the MLS. Now, one thing that we even have, especially here in Atlanta, you need to be very conscious of, and I'm not trying to get into which is better, Georgia MLS or FMLS, but if you're only marketing your properties in one of the MLSs, see, a lot of agents only use one MLS. You know, like here, you know, in the South Side, well, not just the brokerage, but agents get completely comfortable with one system. So like down here in the South, everybody, you know, if you're south of the perimeter, you know, down here, Georgia MLS rules the roost. But if I go up into Alpharetta or into Midtown, it's going to be FMLS. And so you'll find that if you don't list your property in both MLSs, you're missing out on clients and agents seeing the properties and that kind of stuff.
Because both your MLS actually allow you to do what we call reverse prospecting. So that's a good tool to have.
Number 3 is pictures. I just said pictures. I know pictures. Either the pictures are really poor quality, or they're also, if you've ever seen the very first photo is a bathroom or a bedroom, that just doesn't make any sense. It always needs to be the outside, because if it's not an exterior shot, people go, what's wrong with the house?
And y'all can't do a drive-by shooting, and we can see the windows of your car.
Turn sideways, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
don't do that.
We also got to make sure the condition and the repair match. Condition and the price match. You can't have, like, you're not going to be able, our sellers have to understand that you can't sell at premium price and not be in premium condition. The two work together.
And sometimes you may have premium condition, but you might be overbuilt for your neighborhood. So do take that. Yes, your house definitely be the first one to go, but if your price is not right, it may not.
Your curb appeal is drastically important.
Y'all, during COVID time, the curb appeal was gorgeous.
Everybody had time to fix your yards up and that kind of stuff.
And now, after proposed pandemic, everybody went on cruises and a lot of just entertainment.
One of our agents was showing a property this week. Right, but showing a property with a client, and came back and was talking to us about, like, we pulled in the driveway and the client's like, nah, let's not even go in. I mean, wouldn't even go look inside the house because it just wouldn't show great. And so the other one is staging, like making sure that house is set up and staged properly, it's decluttered, it's immaculately clean is so important.
Yeah, you can have a lot of stuff just laying around and just think, oh, well, the housing market
Yeah.
is low inventory, so I can just leave my house in whatever condition. It doesn't work that
Yeah.
way.
And then lastly is that there's no marketing beyond the MLS. The basic agent's toolkit consists of lockbox on the door, sign of the yard, in the MLS, pray. That's the 4-step process for a lot of agents, and we have to go better than that. We have to do better than that.
Yeah, open houses are popular. They're back now. If you really have a unique property, you might think about doing agent
Well,
luncheons.
come to our listing classes. We help teach that. There's a lot of things that you can do
Absolutely.
and that take you beyond the basic 4. Georgia's migration trend is in a very positive state. So you can see the darker red it is. That means that you have a more people moving into your state than out of your state. And so Georgia's in a really good place there. We have the second largest number of federal jobs outside of Washington, D.C. We don't.
Studios,
Yeah.
we're one a major transportation hub.
Yeah.
When it comes rail, air,
Our values are really great, that kind of stuff. Yeah, a lot of things come up out of Port of Savannah. So we're in really good shape with that. Matter of fact, there was another study, or not study, but United Van Lines does a survey out there, or not a survey, they track their results. And so this is the numbers for Georgia, where what percentage of folks move in and out. And you can see overall, 53 people move into Georgia versus 46% move out. So that's a very positive number overall for Georgia. One other trend we want to kind of make sure that you're aware of, and we're seeing multi-generational households be very important. And I think that as we have an aging boomer population, the baby boomer population was the largest population for years, and now the millennials is the largest. However, a lot of our boomers are getting older, and so we're starting to see where you can kind of see that the trend has been moving up a little bit more now. During COVID, that kind of held things back a little bit, but it's back, and we're at 14% of our properties are a multi-generational household. Now you can see that the reasons why our buyers are looking at them. Well, there's a myriad of reasons out there, because one depends on for our younger buyers, well, they can buy more house together, that kind of stuff. You also have taking care of aging parents and things like that. Those tend to be higher for our repeat buyers and that kind of stuff. But we have to understand that one, it's a little bit tricky to find these houses, because a lot of times multi-generational households, they'll be zoned single family, but they're going to have two households inside. And a lot of times we just go searching single family. If you look for multifamily, you end up, the way it shows up on the MLS is it's really just showing up as duplexes, and that's not what we're talking about.
Now we're talking about a home with a fully renovated basement that has its own kitchen and its own living and bedrooms, separate bath, and all that good stuff.
But just understand, there's an entire market out there. So whether you're listing,
we actually sold property to a gentleman and his wife. It was funny thing is, so the wife took the top floor, the gentleman took the basement. So that was interesting.
They were a single generational, but yeah, it was different for sure. Overall rent growth has slowed significantly, even here in Atlanta. And that's part of the reason why we're seeing some of the inflation numbers come down as well, is housing is a big piece of that. And so we've seen, as interest rates taper down, as property values are becoming much more reasonable, we're also seeing rents that are starting to drop. And so that's a very positive number. Now, what that's meaning, though, at the same time, even though we're seeing rents drop, the fact that we're seeing property value appreciation slow, it's not going negative, but slowing. And at the same time, we're seeing interest rates come down. Look what just happened here in Georgia is that we have been sitting where it was cheaper to rent than it was to own here in Georgia right now, and that's just started to make the change. And so we're starting to see where it's starting to kind of level off, and we're really glad to kind of see that. Now, one other thing that we're hearing about is foreclosure starts. We're hearing that people are like, but foreclosures are up. We're just going to wait for the foreclosures to happen. Okay, this is what the foreclosure. And so when you look at the foreclosure moratorium that we had, there was no foreclosures. And so, when you say, foreclosures are up 44%. Okay, I won't dispute that. But when you look at the real numbers and where foreclosures are, compared to, I don't know, any time in the last 20 years. It's ridiculously low. And so for the folks who are like, I'm just going to wait, you're going to be waiting for a really, really long time, because we don't see any indication of that happening.
Tori, just so you know, you're competing with hundreds of buyers that it's doing the same thing you are doing. And so the likelihood is 1 out of a few hundred that will get it.
So this week, on as far as training goes, so tomorrow we have our Valentine's sales meeting, and then on Thursday, my lovely bride,
I'm teaching 2023 guard contract change. So for those of you that have not taken it, please come, because there are a couple changes on the wording, and it does make a difference.
And then also on Thursday, we have take a walk on the wild side. So we appreciate you guys. If we can be of any kind of service, please call, text, smoke signals. We answer them all. Have a great week.
Thank you, and happy Monday. Happy Valentine's as well.